Let's talk about Bernie Sanders for a minute, and then I'm gonna let you go.
Sure, man.
Bernie Sanders.
Sure. Yeah, let's go, man.
You've come out in full support of Bernie Sanders. You're feeling the burn. There's so many. I mean, we probably could talk about Bernie Sanders for the next hour, but I'm not going to do that to you. So what are your thoughts on the Sanders, on the race, on the black vote in this race? Just give me the rundown.
Man, so many thoughts. You know, I've said this publicly. This time a year ago, I probably could fit what I knew about Bernie Sanders in 3 or 4 sentences. Like I basically knew that he was like a disheveled socialist from Vermont. Yeah. Like that's kind of all I knew about him. And I knew that he was really serious about being a senator, and that he was different, and he took his job very seriously. I'd seen him on a couple lists of like the poorest people in the Senate. I'd seen that type of stuff about him, but I didn't even know enough about him to be like that guy. And so when the race came, I was just open. There was a part of me that felt like I was hoping. I don't know who I was wanting to run, but I was hoping that there were going to be a good selection of candidates. Like I was hoping maybe that Elizabeth Warren would run, for instance. And but I knew that with Hillary running, that most people would not want, including Elizabeth Warren, would not want to get in her way, if you will, because the system, the establishment had really kind of designated that it was her time. And so there was a real part of me that felt like, man, I just wish there'd be some great people to get in the race. And so when Bernie Sanders got in the race, literally, I watched him make his announcement. And I was with my wife the day he announced he was running. And man, we just cracked up because he just had like a microphone set out in the grass by himself. And he's like, yeah, I'm announcing I'm running and I got to go back to work. And like there was nothing special about it.
Right.
And even, but right in that moment, it kind of endeared me to him. I was like, this guy really is altogether different. And the more I listened to him, just for myself, the more I began to trust him. And the more I listened to people who had known him for years, I began to take him seriously. And I actually wrote a few public critiques of Bernie when I was working for Daily Kos. Several times sisters interrupted his speeches, and I wrote several. I had not endorsed him, and I had not yet planned on endorsing him. I felt like the people who interrupted him were right to do so, and I felt like his platform was missing some really key elements that dealt with discrimination, that dealt with police brutality, that dealt with racial injustice. And I felt like as good as a guy as I thought he was, like I had no questions about his character, I felt like his platform was really lacking. And right there was a pivotal moment for me, man, because after he got interrupted once, I think it was in Seattle, and another time, I think they were in Arizona at the conference, I saw him really begin to listen and learn and adapt the issues that mattered to me. And by this past August, he released what I thought was an amazing platform dealing with injustice. And when he released it, I had a real open mind. I was not on board for him. And I was still at that time, even open at the time to supporting Hillary Clinton. I had an open mind to the idea. I planned on supporting somebody. But when I saw that platform, I was blown away by it. And I thought, even though I know he may or may not have written every word of it, I saw him in the days and weeks after that platform was released speak about that platform as if he knew it and owned it and believed in it. And it was, if I had written it myself, whoever did write that, and I have an idea of some of the people who were at that table, they just did an amazing job addressing the issues that mattered most to me. And then as I saw him speak about those issues all over the country, time and time again, I felt good about it. And it was right about that time people started saying, like, hey, Shaun, did you know that he was a real activist in the 1960s? Like, that, not that he was a pretend activist or considered it. Did you know that this guy was leading sit-ins? He was leading protests. Did you know that this guy was being chained to women in protest in inner city Chicago, that he was the head of a chapter of SNCC? I didn't know that stuff. I didn't know. You know, people told me, you know, did you know that he was one of the only people to endorse Jesse Jackson in 1984 and in 1988, and that he didn't just endorse him, but hosted campaign events for him and spoke eloquently about it. And all of that, I didn't know his history. And when I saw that, it got me, man. And well,
let me ask.
And then lastly,
right there.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Give me that lastly.
Yeah, you know, lastly, I actually believe all of the other platform that he has, where he talks about economic injustice, the healthcare for all, college for all, like those things, I actually really like those things. And when all the things he talks about, corruption on Wall Street, you know, his votes against the war, like before he added a justice component to his platform, I actually liked all the other things that he stood for. I just thought there were some pieces that were missing. And it was when he added those pieces that were missing, I felt like, when he added them, and then I learned that he wasn't pandering, but that he was actually a legend, you know, that he had a deep history of activism.
Don't say that though.
Yeah.
Don't say that because okay, this is where I got to jump in, because how was it that you were able to hear about his activism and not be turned off by, you know, people explaining to you that he was this civil rights? Because that seems to be the play right now, right? They don't want to hear anybody tell you about Bernie Sanders' activism because, you know, what has he done for us lately? All these little games that we play, and we don't have to go into all the minutia of it, but how were you not turned off by people trying to tell you about Sanders?
Well, you know, it wasn't even so much that, like, I saw the videos and not just videos and pictures, man. It was deep. It was deeper. Although all of that stuff mattered to me, what I saw in him was a real consistency of character.
Thank you.
In the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, and even though it's a lot to say, we're talking about a man who has a 50-year history of protesting the wrongs of the world every chance he gets. And because he was not a household name, I did not know that he didn't just do what he did in the 60s. What he did in the 60s fueled the way he led in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and 2000s. And then I began hearing all of these clips of him speaking on the House floor, on the Senate floor, and speaking with like passion and anger and eloquence. And then I realized, I said, this is the same dude who was getting arrested in 1960. That he was, I mean, the way he spoke out against the prison reforms of the 80s and 90s, the way he spoke out against poverty during those times, I mean, it was as passionate as anybody in the House or Senate from those decades. Like, and I've gone to see, like, who else was speaking like that with him? He was speaking against apartheid. He was speaking against injustice in America. And it wasn't that I don't see him or any politicians as flawless candidates, but I am deeply skeptical of all politicians. And for me, he is about as trustworthy. And I think that's what young people are, great judges of character, man. And young people that are 35, I'm 36. So people that are 35 and younger are supporting him almost 8-1 because they see him and they trust him. And what they saw, the same thing I saw, was like, when this guy speaks, I believe him. And most of us don't naturally, innately believe what most politicians say. And so when people say, what have you done for me lately? Most of that is still a lack of education about what he did do and what he fought for in the House, in the Senate, and in his personal life. He will be our last chance to have a presidential candidate who was a civil rights activist in the civil rights movement, if you will. And because after Bernie, we are pretty much past the age of having someone from the civil rights movement who could run for president. And so all of that stuff matters to me, man. And then it, as funny as it may sound to people now, I'm a huge Killer Mike fan, and I listen to Killer Mike, and Killer Mike's really like astute politically, and Killer Mike picked up on Bernie before I did, on Bernie's authenticity and his record. And when Killer Mike came out and endorsed Bernie, it impacted me. And then lastly, I did an interview with a woman named Nina Turner. And Nina Turner was a great politician and leader in Ohio. And I hopped on the phone with Nina one day, and I did not know really what to expect. And she was the most authentic, genuine woman. And she ran down all the reasons why she decided to support Bernie, even though she had pretty much supported Hillary before and in previous campaigns.
Right.
She had a huge impact on me. Killer Mike did as well. And I made up in my mind that I was not going to be a fly on the wall in this election, that I was not going to be a bump on the log. I was not going to just be quiet. I was going to step in and do something. And so I just decided, hell, if I'm a jump in, I'm gonna go all for it. Yeah. And fight for him as much as I can.
Awesome, man. That is I had a chance to I had Nina Turner on the show about I guess a Super Tuesday ago. So not the last Super Tuesday, but Super Tuesday before that. And when I tell you, I've been supporting Bernie Sanders quietly throughout the summer because of his progressive economic policies. That's just my thing. And then I came out supporting him full-fledged when I saw the media games. But listening to Nina Turner talk about Bernie Sanders, like just a few weeks ago, really reignited my passion for it. So I want to give a shout out to Nina Turner for that interview she did with you, because she helped bring you all the way, Killer Mike, because it's that passion, man. It's that passion that people connect with, the sincerity that you spoke of. People want to see sincerity, and I feel you said this is one of our last chances to get a candidate who's been a part of the civil rights movement. I also feel like this is our last chance to get a candidate that is not baked into the system, right? It's just he's coming from a different perspective in his whole worldview, and so that's why I've just thrown my support behind him. But listen, man, I've held you at least for like 40 minutes now, so I really appreciate you coming on.
I enjoyed it, man. It didn't feel like 40 minutes, man.
Yeah, no, it didn't. And somewhere my producer is going to start shouting in the room, it's time to end the show. Not tonight. I still got another interview to do after this, so we're going into overtime tonight. But Shaun, listen, thanks so much for joining us. I'm glad you can make it here, and I know everybody knows how to get up with you, but it's just my thing. Tell everyone how to get up with you and where they can find you.
Yeah, man. You can find me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, all with my name, Shaun King, ShaunKing. And I write 2 articles a day, 5 days a week for New York Daily News. And I try to keep it as kind of real and raw and transparent. Sometimes I'm reporting just the hard news, but infusing my own thoughts and opinions into it. And but I tweet those stories, share them on Facebook, and people can connect with me anytime. And then you and I always stay connected and are sharing back and forth privately. And so if I can ever do anything to support you, to support the show, or to support any issues, just let me know.
Man, don't say that, because I'll be hitting you up as soon as the show is over.
Yeah, hit me up.
All right, man. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Shaun King. I know everybody watching knows how to get up with him, but like I said, that's just my thing. I like to ask my guests to give out their hashtag and whatnot. Shaun, thanks so much, man. You're always welcome back anytime you can make it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Take care.
YouTube. All right, folks, 857-600-0518.